Well, today we're doing page 2 of Unit 9, and it's chapter 28. This one will deal with the cultural geography of East Asia. So the three major religions, you've got Confucianism. This is named after a man named Confucius. His actual name was Kung Fu Tse, but it was easier for the Westerners to call him by the name of Confucius. That's what they came up with. Taoism or Daoism, kind of a soft D sound. I believe that one is focused in Japan. And then Buddhism started in India with an Indian prince named Siddhartha Gautama. And from India, then it moved into other countries, China, Japan, Korea, Taiwan, other places there. So, and of course, typically known for a very fat man with big earlobes and a bald head. There's lots of renditions of the Buddha. Some Chinese inventions include paper, printing. This block here you can see is a carving of a train. Anyway, they can wet that with ink and have their piece of paper and then press the block onto it. So that was an early form of printing. Gunpowder, got lots of fireworks. So if you look on your fireworks when you purchase those, a lot of them will say made in China. The compass was, and there's some more of these pictures on the next slide. Compass, porcelain, and silk cloth. So there's a porcelain bowl, and there's a couple of examples of a compass, and then the silk cloth. I think we talked about it a little bit earlier, where China had the knowledge of how to make silk, and they tried to keep that knowledge from anyone else for as long as they could. So they took the silkworm larva, boil it, and then from there they could just start pulling these strands out of it, and then were able to make the cloth. Once other people realized how to make it, then the value or what China could ask for it, it diminished because it wasn't such a secret anymore. Some of the leading agricultural products for the region include rice. Rice takes a lot of water to grow, and if you were all here, I would be showing you some of my slides from when I was in Korea, and we actually went out and got some pictures of us planting rice, and there's a few inches of water, and then below that a few inches of mud, and you just take these stalks of rice and you just push them into the ground, and they have a string across, and that's how you make the straight rows. Wheat, barley, tea, and silk. Japan, South Korea, and Taiwan have limited natural resources. We talked about some of the ones last time that had natural resources, but these countries have limited. The Gobi Desert is one of the world's largest. It stretches from northwestern China into Mongolia. It is larger than Texas and California combined, so well over 500,000
I was
square
just
miles.
informed that the bathrooms by the lunchroom do work. There is water running there. Thank you.
Water's turned off from the city, if you're curious what that was all about. Economic tiger, a nation that has rapid economic growth due to cheap labor, high technology, and aggressive exports. Taiwan, Singapore, and South Korea. Now, Singapore is actually in the next unit, but these are some examples of economic tigers. Many of these countries are, maybe where Japan was 15 or 20 years ago, and they're starting to make inroads into some of those. I know, for example, when I returned in '82 after being in Korea, 1986, when I was in Cedar going to school, I remember seeing my first Hyundai car that had been made and exported into our country. Now the name is actually pronounced Hyundai, but to make it easier on us and everyone else, then we just say Hyundai. Now they have 2 or 3 different automobile styles, like sedan styles, plus 3 or 4 or 5 different SUV models. So, and I was going to say they make a van, but I think that might be Kia, which, by the way, is also a Korean automaker. This one is actually Taiwan, and this picture is from Singapore, and this picture here is from Seoul, South Korea. Okay, the Pacific Rim, these are countries that surround the Pacific Ocean. And so you can see this chart here, okay? That's the Ring of Fire, which is a chain of volcanoes that line the Pacific Rim. So South America, North America, Asia, that's the area that is considered the Ring of Fire, where it lines the Pacific Ocean. Japan averages over 1,000 earthquakes each year. They do have some volcanic activity as well. I remember reading in National Geographic a little article about these children who went to school, and they would have these hard hats because occasionally these rocks would be spewed out of the volcano and then they would land. And the children, they would wear these hats so they didn't get hit in the head with rocks as they walked to and from school. Once they got to school, they would hang them up and then put them on again as they returned home. Tsunami we talked about earlier in the year. I believe it was chapter 2. Anyway, 2 or 3. And then, of course, the huge wave of great destructive power caused by an earthquake under the ocean floor. This picture here is an elevated roadway, and it was supported by these huge cement columns, and that's what is right here is the cement columns. You can see the amount of cement, you can see the rebar inside. That's the steel that gives it some strength and structure. Anyway, that whole roadway is just toppled over onto its side. And I'm just guessing that those would probably be 15, 20 feet in diameter. They're very large. And then an example of a tsunami just coming in. You see a lot of people there. A lot of times it's so fast that you don't realize what's happening, or as you look at it, excuse me, it looks like it's very slow, and then in reality it's coming in quite fast. The Jakarta Triangle, this is Japan, Korea, and Taiwan. So they take the first couple of letters of each of those to create that. So it's not a perfect triangle, but here's, so Japan, Korea, down to Taiwan, so it does make a kind of a triangle there. So, and this is just a picture of Seoul, the capital of South Korea. And this is an old movie poster, Twilight. This is what Korean writing looks like. So this says Twilight. So they just put the Korean letters in there, and then you sound it out, and it says that word. If you went to a Korean restaurant, this is what you would find. In fact, up across from the Springville Walmart, there was a little shopping center, and they had I don't know if it's still there. We go down to the Spanish Fork one now, but they had a little a Korean food place where you could go in and get lunch and dinner. It was a little bit more expensive, but I really enjoyed it. Anyway, And just like this, they have the same thing up there, where they bring you whatever meat that you're going to eat, and then you actually cook it. This is a little barbecue in the center of the table, and you actually cook it there at your table while you're eating. And then these are a lot of different vegetables and things. They use a lot of spices. Some of you may have heard about kimchi. I thought it was pretty good. I acquired a taste for it. It is a little spicy, but I enjoyed it. So anyway, thank you.